Joe Hopkins here, and I know that's kind of a funny title there. How to be happier. Well, you know, we all go through hard times, and I've known some people lately that's been going through some hard times, and it's got me to thinking, how do you cheer up, right? I was giving my friend some advice, and I thought maybe it would help more people than just my friend. I know I haven't been doing guitar videos lately, but I like this kind of stuff too. So, first of all, we're going to hang out and talk while I have a drink. By the way, this isn't the key to happiness. Alcohol is not what will get rid of your problems. But if you like to have a drink or two to take the edge off, it's not the end of the world, and don't go feeling too guilty about it. There we go. I like a drink or two once in a while. Not so much lately. I work a lot. Point of stress. Another thing that can make you unhappy, right? Stress. The feeling of overwhelm, having too much to do, working too much. These are all things that steal our happiness from us, right? Sometimes bad relationships. When it feels like everything's out of our control, right? These are the most common things I've found. It's interesting with alcohol here, the old AA thing, you know, the change, was it, accept the things you cannot change, change the things you can, and know the difference. That's actually pretty good advice, right? Keep in mind, I'm not talking about people with medical conditions. If you have chronic depression, anxiety, that kind of stuff, some of the things I'm talking about might help you. But if it's, you might need to seek outside help. And some of you guys that don't realize you have problems, you might have to seek medical help. You might need medication, man. Some people's brains don't work quite the way they're supposed to. That sucks. I feel you. I know the struggle is real, right? And it might take medication, and hopefully some of the things I'm going to go over could help as well. So first, you need to decide what things can't I change, what things can I change. The whole know the difference part. I like to make lists. You know, it can be helpful. Sit down and actually write down, make a list of all the things that are really stressing you out, really just stealing your happiness, making you sad, stressing you out, overwhelming you, all of your problems. Make a list of them, right? And then you can go down through that list and you can start deciding which of these things can I change and which can't I change. What things can I do something about? Do I have a say in? And which ones don't I? And the things you don't have a say in, there's nothing you can do about it, right? Well, you kind of have to accept it. Raging against it doesn't help. And being upset about it constantly doesn't help. Accept that just is what it is. And see if there's anything you can do to at least improve the situation. And of all the things on that list that you can change, well, you now have to go through that and decide how many of these things do I want to change. Even a situation that's stressing you out, well, the alternative could be worse. And I'm not trying to be a downer here, but legitimately, deciding what things you don't want to change. They're not great, but you don't want the alternative to it. It does give you a sense of empowerment. You're making decisions. When you accept things, you're making a decision. It gives you a little bit of control over your life. You've identified this is a problem and I can't do anything about it, and I accept it. This is a problem and I could fix it, but I don't want to lose what I have here, or I don't want the alternative to this. It's giving you agency in your life, right? That's a good thing. And then the big one, identifying the things you can change that you want to change. These are things I can change, right? Maybe you look at your job. Your job is stressing you out. Maybe you can change that. You could get a different job. Maybe you can't get a different job, but actively deciding I'm staying at this job, or I'm staying in this relationship, or I'm staying in this, that, or the other that's stressful, but you're making the decision to do it. It does improve how you feel about that situation. It also lets you start working it for all it's worth, right? My job is stressful, but I try to arrange my time off and when I work overtime to at least have a say in what I'm doing. It gives me more of a sense of agency in it. And the things you can change that you want to change, making those changes can really pick you up a lot, make you feel like I'm doing something. I'm making my life better. And these are things that you can do that can improve your life and can improve how you feel about your life. That's the big thing. Even if you don't improve your life, even if you don't improve your situation, if you improve how you feel about it, that can be a very good thing. For instance, my job makes me work a lot of overtime. So I started changing the way I look at the overtime, changing the way I act toward the overtime. Instead of waiting for them to make me work it, I volunteer for it on the days I'd rather do it. And, well, I find I like the paychecks. I find I'm actually working more now because I like the paychecks I was getting than I'm working more overtime than they would make me work. But I'm also getting something out of it, and it's my decision instead of being thrust upon me. So I feel better about it, you know? It's still stressful, but I feel better about it. And that's making a change in an unchangeable situation. I can't quit my job. I can't not work overtime, but I can decide when I work it. I can decide how much of it I work if I'm deciding when I work it. If you get what I mean. Sometimes you have a situation that you don't want to necessarily change, but you can maneuver within that situation. Still gives you a sense of agency. You're making decisions instead of decisions being made for you. And the acceptance part, once again, even when decisions are being made for you, to accept that, well, that just is what it is. You take the good with the bad and the bad with the good. That attitude also gives you a certain amount of, well, at least things don't hurt as much. You're accepting it. It is what it is. I don't have to be mad about it. I'm stuck with it, you know? And that sounds a little down. I'm just stuck with it. But realizing you're just stuck with something, accepting the fact, can be a big thing. Because a lot of what stresses us out is not consciously, actively recognizing that this thing is stressing me out. To just even recognize, to say outwardly, this is stressing me out, can help. It can help because you're at least identifying what it is that's bothering you. And you can't make a situation better until you at least admit that this is the thing that's bothering me. Now, it can help to talk. This is another thing about being happier. We'll move on to talking about it, right? Finding the things that stress you out. Talk about them with someone. That can definitely be something that is a good thing to do. It's why we have therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists, people that are trained in talking to you to get you to, open up and get these things out. But you can talk to family, friends, and conversely, you can decide to not talk about it. There are times to not talk about it. I know people that talk way too much about their problems, and they talk about them at times when they shouldn't. This is the time that you should be relaxing, having a drink with some friends, chilling out, going fishing, going to a meal with a loved one, that kind of stuff. That's not the time. Those are the times when you try to just put it out of the way and enjoy yourself. Take some you time, right? Enjoying being with other people. And try to do that. Find those times that you can just push the problems aside and not deal with them. Not dealing with them can be very therapeutic, at least for periods of time. You can't be dealing with this 24/7, right? Know when to deal with things, know when to just put them out of the way for a day or even an hour. Another thing I would recommend to improve your happiness is to let go of a lot of the guilt feelings we get. People feel guilty about being depressed. People feel guilty about having anxiety. People feel guilty. We're told that, well, just cheer up, have a better outlook. And sometimes that's not always possible. You don't need to feel guilt on top of what you're already feeling. You can let those guilt feelings go. It's okay. You have permission to feel like shit sometimes. We all do, and some people are in worse positions than other people. And it's not always readily apparent to the outside world. Some people, they'd say, well, you have a loving relationship. What do you have to feel bad about? You make lots of money. What do you have to feel bad about? Rich people, people in good relationships, people with wonderful families, they still have problems. We all do. Money doesn't get rid of your problems. It changes the problems you have. Being poor doesn't do it either. Some people think I could just give it all up and go live under a bridge and it'll be easier. Well, that doesn't get rid of your problems either. It just changes the problems you have. We all have problems. Everybody does, and it's okay to feel like shit. Don't feel guilty about it. You don't have to feel bad about it, and if somebody's guilting you for feeling bad, don't talk to them about it anymore. Nah, maybe they're your friend. You don't have to cut them off, but don't talk to them about your problems. They obviously are not very sympathetic, you know? Another thing that can improve your happiness is not feeling guilt about the way in which you deal with your problems, right? Some ways are less than healthy. You shouldn't drink because of your problems. You shouldn't smoke because of your problems or do drugs. But if you find yourself in the middle of that, guilt just perpetuates the whole thing. You're never going to stop doing the thing you shouldn't be doing. If you're feeling guilty, that just makes you feel worse, and then you do that thing more. Right? If you're drinking your problems away, feeling guilty about it doesn't exactly help. I'm not saying revel in it, but be reasonable, be accurate about it. It's a crutch. You're using it to help deal with your problems. I mean, I'm holding mine up. I don't drink every day to deal with my problems, but it is nice to have one. But yeah, don't feel guilty about it. I know people that started smoking again after years because they're having problems. Don't need to feel guilty about smoking on top of all the problems. It's a crutch. Try to deal with the problems and then quit smoking again, right? Guilt doesn't help. Don't feel guilty about other things either, right? Sometimes we like to veg out, stream a movie, binge watch Netflix, play games on our phone, play video games for like a whole day. And society has a bad habit of looking dimly upon those activities, bashing you for it. Oh man, you're worthless. You're just being unproductive. And, you know, it's okay to veg out. It really is. Guilt doesn't help anything. I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying that if you are doing something that's really unproductive, don't revel in it, but you don't need to feel guilty about it. It's perfectly okay to take a day where you do nothing worthwhile. That's fine. If it helps you feel better, do it. Do it. Binge watch that show. Stream a movie, right? It's not like you're calling in sick to work to, play video games all day. If you do, I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to get a day off. Sometimes you got to. But you do need a day here and there, or even a couple minutes here and there, even an hour or two to just veg out and do nothing. It takes your mind off the issues. It takes your mind off the problems, and it can be therapeutic. You don't need to feel guilty about it. You also really need to, it helps if we also help to identify some of the things that aren't our problems. We do get caught up in things that literally aren't our problem, right? Whether it's on the news, if it's politics, if it's drama with friends and family, if it's stuff at work that isn't really touching us, if it's not your problem, it's not your problem. You need to identify where that line is. On this side of the line is not my problem, and on this side of the line is my problem. If it doesn't affect you one way or the other, it's not your problem. Don't get worked up about it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to you. You don't need to be getting all pissed off about things that aren't your problem. Because I've found that we as human beings have a bad habit of getting worked up over things that affect other people primarily, right? It shouldn't be our problem, but we make it our problem. Don't make more problems for yourself than you legitimately have. Try to cut your problems down to the least possible problems. My problems, let's see, I got to go to work. I got a kid to raise. I got a wife to take care of. I'm listing my problems, right? I don't have problems outside of that. I got to make my budget work. I don't have to worry about things outside of the necessities. The other thing that can really steal your happiness and mess you up in the head is overwhelm. Everything all at once. And that happens to me a lot, where I have a lot going on. I mean, a lot. Like I said, kid, wife, full-time job with overtime. I love doing YouTube and I want to keep doing it, right? I haven't done as many videos as I should because of all the other stuff. and trying to keep up with everything. And I have stuff to do around the house, and there's shopping, and there's like a million things. So sometimes I find the best thing to do with that is put these things in a list. Prioritize these things. What's your number one priority, right? And number two, you make a list of all the things you got going on, even if it's just in your head. Sometimes you don't have time to write it down. But pick the most important thing and do it first. And then pick the second most important thing. Do that next. Number three, do that. Get as far through that list as you can. And you might not get all the way through the list. That's okay. Tomorrow some things will come up that will end up higher on the list than the things you didn't get done yesterday. Prioritize, get the important things done first. Don't worry about getting it all done. Just get as much done as you can. Get through that list. It also makes you feel more productive. And it does help if you write it down. The reason why is every time you cross something off of that list, sense of accomplishment, man. And then you look back, you're like, I crossed like 7 things off my list today. And they were 7 big things. Makes you feel good. Lists really do help. Writing things down, it gets them out in a physical way. So yeah, make lists. Make lists of your problems. Because then if you solve one of them, fix one, you can cross it off. That feels good. It feels like you erased a problem out of your life. When you get something done, cross it off that list. Makes you feel good. Sense of accomplishment really picks us up more than you could imagine. In fact, making a daily list can be a good thing to do. Your daily list of things to do today. And don't let it become this thing where you look at it and the list is overwhelming. No, that list, it's there so that you can cross things off of it. You don't have to get it all done. Just do what you can. And, don't let anybody give you shit over not getting it all done. Come on. Nobody gets it all done. Ever. That's the other thing you have to accept. That list, if you update your list every day, it is a perpetual list. Meaning it never gets done. So you don't have to worry about getting it done. Just get the most important things done. And if you get to the less important things, that's awesome. Eventually, those less important things, I find a lot of times they either go away, like they just take care of themselves, or they end up making the top of the list. You let something go long enough and it moves up the list sometimes. It gets worse, right? Like house repair, car repair. You don't repair your car right away. It goes from a minor annoying noise to something that's got to get fixed today. But yeah, prioritize. Cross things off that list. Yeah. And... I get back to acceptance. To be honest with you, acceptance can be one of the biggest things. Accept that you're going to feel bad sometimes. Just accept it and get through it, because it doesn't last forever, right? We all have bad days. We all have good days. Nothing ever stays down. Nothing ever stays up. Not all the way. When it's bad, it'll get better. Have hope. When it's good, enjoy it. It'll get worse. And that's not a downer thing. When you know the good isn't going to last, you really try to enjoy it while you got it, because nothing's permanent. Everything's in flux all the time. And it helps you from getting too depressed about things, because if it's bad, it'll get better. Things always improve, and they always get worse, up and down. Just wait it out. Wait it out, and it'll eventually come around. It'll get better. And then it'll get worse, and then it'll get better, and then it'll get worse, and then it'll get better. That's life, right? As long as you keep waking up and standing upright and doing things, we're good. And most of the things that are bothering you, it'll be different things a year from now, 5 years from now. It'll be a whole new set of problems, right? These problems aren't permanent. You'll have new problems in a year. Trust me, I've been around long enough to know. So anyway, it's nice having a beer and talking to you guys. I hope that some of this has been helpful, a little bit of, I don't want to call it self-help. It's just friendly advice, right? Having a beer and shooting the shit. So yeah, subscribe to my channel. I'm thinking of doing more videos like this if you guys like them. And, Here in a minute, there's an end screen. On it is a playlist called I Didn't Get a Memory by Joe Hopkins. That's my album. It's a playlist on YouTube, and there's streaming to it down below. Check it out. I'm trying to promote it because I think it's good, and it just people aren't listening to it. I don't know. I put it out because I enjoy it. So I make music for me, and if other people like it, great. But I would like it if you guys gave it a listen. And I'll see you guys in the next video. I love you guys. Peace out, baby. Bye-bye.